buong mundo na ang Pilipino may kakayanan na magpahusay ng kabuhayan Pilipino.
That we call on all patriotic Filipinos to discard ideological differences, party affiliations, disparity of religious beliefs and regional origins, to close our ranks, stand behind one flag, commit our honor, dedicate our lives to fight as best we can in defense of our country.
Ang ating katipunan. Ang ating katipunan. Ang palatuntunang maghahatid sa inyo ng mahahalagang impormasyon tungkol sa mga kaganapan sa loob at labas ng bansa.
Ang ating katipunan.
Magbibigay liwanag sa mga katanungang nagdudulot ng pagkalito sa mga mamamayan hango sa aral ng pandaigdigang kasaysayan.
Ang ating katipunan.
Makikinig sa inyong mga daing at kuro-kuro sa pagsusuri ng mga kasalukuyang suliranin ng ating bayan at ng buong mundo.
Ang ating katipunan.
Maglalatag ng kalutasan ng mga sanhi ng paghihirap ng kalagayan at kabuhayan ng sambayanan.
Ang ating katipunan.
Ihahatid sa inyo ni Itos Valdes ng Philippine LaRouche Society, Save the Nation Movement, Solidarity for Sovereignty Movement, Renaissance Philippines at Partido Politikal ng Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino kasama si Cathy Cruz.
Okay. Magandang gabi po mga katipon dito po sa ating katipunan. Ito po ang inyong katipon na si Butch Valdes at sumasa inyo na naman dito sa ating katipunan. At ang ating pong co-host ngayong gabi ay as usual, walang iba kundi si Itos Valdes at kasama din po natin ang ating mga ibang kasamahan sa LaRouche Movement at dito po sa ating KDP at sa iba pang organizations na meron po tayo. So kami po dito ay nag-aanyaya sa inyo na magkasama kayo dito para pagtalakayan natin ang mga kasalukuyang problema sa ekonomiya at sa mga iba pang mga larangan ng buhay. So, andito po tayo ulit. Ang ating pong gustong pag-usapan ay ito pong madalas nating naririnig nowadays. Ito pong term na Great Reset. Madalas po nagtatanong at marami din mga kung ano-anong nasabi tungkol dito sa Great Reset. Ibig sabihin magkakaroon ng pagkakaiba, no? Ang tingin nila. Pero ang Great Reset, yung ba ang gusto sabihin, pangalam ko, pag nandito tayo sa ating sa computer natin, itong nandito sa harap natin, itong ginagamit natin, kung minsan magkakaroon ng glitch, mawawala. Tapos pupunta tayo dun sa reset button. No? Reset button, parang let us go back to the beginning and reset it. No? Ito pong nangyayari ngayon, kanya siguro tinawag ng Great Reset. No? Ang mundo po natin ay papunta dito sa mga maraming klaseng masalimuot na problema sa ekonomiya, sa financial, sa systems. Madalas natin sinasabi noon yung global financial system is already collapsing, di ba? At bago po nangyari po itong COVID, ang sinasabi natin, sobra-sobra na ang imprenta ng pera, ang Amerika at saka ang Europa, panay ang emprenta nila, trilyon-trilyon na at hindi na nila kakayanin na bayaran itong utang nila, yung mga ganyan. No? Tapos we were anticipating what we call a financial tsunami. Kasi pag nag-break po yung financial tsunami, magkakaroon ng, parang sinasabi natin, magkakaroon ng hyperinflation sa buong mundo. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Lahat-lahat na ng mga bansa mag-emprenta na ng kanilang mga pera, tapos nawawala ng halaga. Nawawala ng halaga yung mga currencies na yun. So we were on the brink of something like that. No? And then things happened. We were all anticipating a global financial collapse. And instead, what had happened in the past year and so many months now, nagkaroon tayo ng COVID. No? Ngayon, yung COVID put a change in the situation. We can talk about whether it was natural or manufactured, sinadya ba to, o meron ba itong planong mas masama at ganito. Pero ang ibig sabihin nito, bagsak ang buong ekonomiya ng mundo. Hindi lang po ng Pilipinas, kundi ng mundo. So, in a situation like this, no, siyempre pagbagsak ang mga ekonomiya ng mundo, siyempre ang magdurusa dito yung mga mamamayan, yung mga populasyon, yung humanity itself will go into various levels of economic conditions at maraming mamamatay, no? At magkakaroon ng pressure lahat ng gobyerno para gumawa ng mga kanilang kakailanganin para mag-survive ang kanilang bansa. Their sovereign republics will survive this. And this is exactly what is going on now. Kanya-kanyang gawaan ng sistema para maayos. Tapos, siyempre, ang problema ng paggagawa tayo ng gamot, mga bakuna, pipilitin natin magbakuna at mga iba wala nang tiwala sa bakuna dahil nakikita nila medyo malabo, walang direksyon at kahina-hinala yung kanilang mga intensyon kung bakit gustong pwersadong bakunahin ng mga tao, yung mga ganito. Magkakaroon siyempre ng reaksyon ng tao. So what are we seeing? We're seeing the beginnings of chaos already and anarchy. And its concomitant economic deterioration, very, very fast deterioration of economics for all countries, no? For all countries. Now, what do we have here? Sa pagbagsak ng ekonomiya ng mundo at meron tayong mga pandemya, bagsak din ang financial system ng mundo. Tapos pagrabe ng pagrabe ang threats of conflict and war. Ngayon lang po tayo nakakaranas ng talagang parang nagtututukan ang bansang Amerika, bansang Russia at bansang China, no? Magkaaway-away. Nagtututukan sila at ang kanilang ginagawang pantutok ay mga nuclear weapons. And these are not limited types of nuclear arms. These are nuclear weapons that are designed to annihilate whole populations. So you've got Russia and China versus the United States and its allies. So that is the threat that we're facing now. This is no joke. I don't think this was ever the case any time in the history of the world. This is the threat, the real threat facing humanity now. But in order for us to understand, going back to the Great Reset, meron silang sinasabi, lalo na yung mga taong dun sa group of 20, na sinasabi nila, magkakaroon ng Great Reset. Kanya-kanyang mga pag-iisip yan kung ano yung Great Reset. Merong globalization, meron ganito, may ganyan. Mas mabuti siguro, katulad ng madalas nating ginagawa dito sa ating programa, tignan natin ng kasaysayan. Let us look back into history, no, as to what type of how it was being run by people. Did we have independent sovereign nation states? Did we have people or organizations that were trying to control others? What type of financial system they were working on? And I wanted Ethos to be able to give us a briefing, no? Maski na hindi masyadong complete dahil mabigat ito, para makita lang natin ng konti kung paano ang ibig nilang sabihin ng Great Reset. Kasi dito sa kasaysayan, makikita nyo, meron mga panahon na meron isang sistemang umiiral, tapos babagsak, tapos i-reset nila, ganyan. Tapos bagsak na naman, tapos i-reset nila. Pero every time they do that, palawak ng palawak ang control ng mga namumuno dito sa sistemang napakasama. So Itos, I'll give it to you now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Good evening to sa lahat ng mga nakikinig sa atin. Just to add to what Chairman Butch was talking about, we in the past, siguro 2 decades already, kahit hindi obvious sa maramihan, is we've been in a global financial crisis. The global financial crisis has accelerated. Bangkarote po ang lahat ng biggest banks in the world. And pag nangyayari dyan, nakikita po natin 2008, 2012, nag-iimprenta po sila ng pera. Imprenta lang sila ng imprenta ng pera to what they call quantitative easing or para i-bail out tong mga kumpanya. But the whole system, like Mr. Lyndon LaRouche had been saying for a long time, is that it is bankrupt. There's no value anymore to the money. So we've been in that situation. Now, on top of that, ang parating pinupush ng mga o tinutulak ng mga mayayamang bansa tulad ng Europe, the elites, the banking and financial elites of Europe and the US together with their world leaders like George Bush, Bill Clinton, and then Obama, pinutulak po nila ang tinatawag na parang baguhin natin yung buong sistema. Okay? In many ways and shapes and forms. Parang pinagpapalit nila yung yun ang tinatawag natin na New World Order. Ngayon, pero hindi nila magawa kasi lumalaban ang ibang mga countries like China and Russia and many other countries that wanted sovereignty. Kasi ang sinasabi nila, para ayusin natin to, kailangan isang one world order na lang tayo. So tinutulak nila ito for a long time. Okay. Ngayon, dumating tayo sa COVID situation where they also...
Singit lang ako ng konti. Dahil napaka-importante itong sinasabi mo, Itos, na yung tinutulak nilang one world order necessitates the surrender of the sovereignty of all nations. Kasi hindi nila mai-impose yung sinasabi lang isang sistema para sa mundo kung ang mga iba-ibang mga bansa, no, may kanya-kanyang say kung paano nilang gugustuhin isalba yung kanilang mga mamamayan. They have their own say as to how their economics must work and the kind of industries they must put up. This is the way a sovereign nation functions, di ba? Soberanya. You are independent of everybody, and the other nations do not have a control over you. Pero yung sinasabi ni Itos na pinopropose nila George Bush as a new world order, no, necessitates a surrender of this sovereignty. Siyempre po, hindi nila basta-basta maitutulak yan dahil hindi papayag ang mga ibang bansa na mag-surrender ng kanilang sovereignty sa isang grupo na magpapatakbo sa kanilang ekonomiya at susunod-sunuran lang sila. No? Ito yung very crucial element dito sa buong discussion natin ngayon. The group that says you have to surrender your sovereignty or give up your economic freedom or independence versus those that want to maintain their sovereignty as a republic and as a nation state. No? Yeah, go ahead, Itas.
Yes, so definitely yun ang gusto nila, and they've been pushing for this for a long time. Ngayon, dumating na tayo ng COVID. The same people who had been wishing for this, and this has been manifested in many different forms. Kunwari, yung pinaka-latest, itong Paris Accord. Itong Paris Accord na environmental accord, Paris Climate Accord, ginawa po ito sa Paris, France. Now, this Paris Accord backs nations. Pag nakasign po tayo dyan, nagko-commit po ang mga bansa na pababain yung kanilang tinatawag na carbon footprint o yung carbon dioxide na ibababa po ng bansa by how many percent. I heard Harry Roque the other day commit the Philippines by 2040 ata, 19 years from now, na 75% ang ibababa na carbon footprint natin. Ngayon, kailangan maintindihan natin anong ibig sabihin nun. Okay? Of course, ito commitment lang to, pero yan ang gusto nila. Kasi ang carbon dioxide po, yan ang sinasabi nilang pollutant. Sinasabi nila nakakasira po sa environment yan. Kaya wag kayo mag-pollute ng environment. So i-shut down nyo yung mga factory nyo, i-shut down nyo yung mga kotse nyo. Wag na kayo sariling kotse. Wag na kayo mag-mass transit na walang electricity, wala nang mga bus, wala nang mga jeep. Wag na tayo lahat ng tapos sinasabi pa ng recently sabi ng US, wag na tayo kumain ng karne. Okay? So they are pushing this kind of because pag kumain ka ng karne daw, sinusuportahan mo yung industriya ng beef. Yung paggawaan ng beef, yung pagkatay, butcher, transport, gano'n. Malaking industriya yon, malaki daw. Kailangan i-cut daw yun. Ito ang gusto nilang gawin sa lahat ng mga bansa. And syempre, yung mga ibang bansa na nag-iisip, hindi naman papayag. Okay? Because trying to tell them, you can't develop as a country. You will not survive as a nation. Okay? Now, dating tayo dito sa COVID, they have pushed forward another scheme. Tinatawag ngayon nila the Great Reset. Pero sila rin ang nagpakana nito. Hindi galing sa mga poorer nations, hindi galing sa Pilipinas, hindi galing sa ibang bansa. It is only by the rich nations like the G7 nations and the Group of 20, and from all of the elite businessmen, the financiers, the bankers. Ito po yung gusto nila mangyari. Ano po yung Great Reset? Ngayon, before we go into it, maybe we can show a short video, about 5 minutes, about what the Great Reset is, and then magko-comment pa kami ni Chairman Butch about it. So I think Ver, if you can play the video now for our audience.
The pandemic has radically changed the world as we know it, and the actions we take today as we work to recover will define our generation.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis.
2020 has been challenging on a lot of levels, as economic, environmental and societal frailties have been laid bare. But it's also proved that when we need to, we can act rapidly and restructure our lives.
The recovery from the pandemic is an opportunity. We can see rays of hope in the form of a vaccine, but there is no vaccine for the planet. Nature needs a bailout.
You don't want to go back to the status quo that you had before simply because it was the status quo that got us here.
With everything falling apart, we can reshape the world in ways we couldn't before, ways that better address so many of the challenges we face. And that's why so many are calling for a great reset. A great reset? That sounds more like buzzword bingo masking some nefarious plan for world domination. Hands up, this kind of slogan hasn't gone down well. But all we really want to say is that we all have an opportunity to build a better world. And it's not surprising that people who've been disenfranchised by a broken system and pushed even further by the pandemic will suspect global leaders of conspiracy. But the world's not that simple. Every one of us has differing priorities, values, and ideas. That's part of why solutions are so hard to come by, and why we all need to be involved in the decision-making. Because whether it's politicians, CEOs, academics, activists, or you, we're all about getting people together, even those you may not like, to sit down at the table and develop solutions that work for all of us. But
we need enormous trust between the private sector and the public sector for this to actually work. That trust is hard to come by.
it's time for people to work together, listen to each other, and build this trust so we can move towards a better world. And we really need one. Because while the pandemic affects us all, it's clear it affects some more than others.
The first people who are hit are the people at the front, those who are vulnerable. It is those on the front line who take it first, and that is simply unacceptable.
See, at the start of 2020, 1% of the world's population owned 44% of the wealth. And since the start of the pandemic, billionaires have increased theirs by more than 25%, whilst 150 million people fell back into extreme poverty. And with climate change set to dwarf the damage caused by the pandemic, the message from 2020 should be abundantly clear.
Capitalism, as we know it, is dead. This obsession that we have had with maximizing profits for shareholders alone has led to incredible inequality and a planetary emergency.
But no one can do this alone, and top-down approaches won't get us anywhere, because everything we've learned in our work has shown us that diverse voices lead to better results. And it's for these reasons that the forum talks about something called stakeholder capitalism, which would shift businesses away from just profit. Because
if we want to change where the focus of our recovery will go, then we need a new dashboard for the new economy. And that needs to encompass people, planet, prosperity, and institutions.
Giving people a real stake in the economy and putting well-being before growth. And that's all about getting the right people in the right place at the right time.
We must rebuild our relationship with nature for the survival of the peoples and our planet.
We have a window of time which is closing, and we need everybody who cares to get together and find solutions now.
It's the people who have great ideas and who share them with others. They're the ones who are shaping the future. So if you want to be a part of the change, then tune in, turn on, and get involved. Follow the Davos agenda, right here, online, on YouTube.
So that was the promo video. It explains a lot of things, and obviously, it makes a lot of assumptions and assertions. And also, there are some warnings there in that video. If you're sharp, makikita po natin na ito yung gusto nilang mangyari. So, Chairman, you want to comment?
Yes. Well, it was very clear in the promo video that came from Davos Forum that there was a conscious effort, first, to convey the idea that the private sector and governments must be working closely together. Okay. Now that's a statement that is full of danger as far as I'm concerned. Because when you push the private sector, meaning the oligarchy and government working well together, then you're going to allow, that means people who are unelected to help, in effect, take over or run government or run policies, run our economics. This is the danger. It's couched in parang nice terms, parang acceptable terms, because it sounds logical. Government and business must work together. Yeah, how can you say no to that? But the way that thing is done and understanding what it can do, this is what is happening to us right now. Wherein the oligarchy has in effect taken over government's functions by taking over the public utilities and so on. This is what they mean by governments and private sector working very closely together. That is one aspect that we must be wary about, because hidden in this propaganda and propaganda campaign will be the dangers that we must be all the time worried about. One of them is this thing about the climate change and the environmental and so on and so forth. There is again a conscious connection that they want to make between the so-called dangers of climate change and world economy, and this connection that they're going to make is that what the message that they were making is that we must all work together, address the climate change, which means because this intends to kill people, and work together so that our world economy together, without saying independent nations, we just say one world economy, can help assuage or correct the bad effects of climate change. So kinoconnect mo na yung world economy effort tsaka yung climate change, which means all of the countries that are going to be involved in this whole effort must correct their situation, their own economies, to address the carbon emittance of their industrial development. What is carbon? Carbon is to them, it is a destructive element that industrialization produces. Many scientists have already refuted this, but still the environmentalist group have been pushing that carbon is an evil element which only human beings produce. So the destruction of the world is being made by human beings, and therefore this has to be stopped. And human beings are destroying the world via industrialization and scientific development. Also, without them going through it, there's a message there is therefore there should be a de-industrialization of the world so that the carbon produced by the factories will lessen so that there will be less threat on the people's on these climate change issues that are going to kill people. So they're making it look like if you deindustrialize, you bring down your developmental plans, you are more likely to save lives, which is crazy, because economics means if you develop, there is greater capacity to sustain a population density in accordance with what you have developed. Ganyan po yan. Pag pumasok po ang development, makikita nyo kung mas marami tayong natatanim dahil gumagamit tayo ng maraming agricultural equipment, may traktora, may ganito, at meron tayong irrigation, mas marami tayong naproproduce na palay. At kung mas marami tayong produce na palay, mas marami tayong napapakain. Ang gusto nila, tanggalin natin itong mga ganito because they are producing carbon. Anong mangyayari? Di bababa ang production mo ng palay. Pag nagbaba ang production mo ng palay, mas maraming mamamatay. Pero you can see the evil in the way they are promoting this so-called Great Reset mentality. So in the end of that thing, of the campaign feature, if you don't scrutinize the messages that they are promoting, you will think that this new reset or this new system that will come out of this crisis that we have, that they are going to impose, will be very, very good for mankind. But in reality, in our opinion, it is going to be a destruction of mankind, couched in these terms. And we will look at it later some more if there are other videos.
Yes, tama. So again, they're putting out this climate change and environmentalism. They are against what they call greenhouse gases, which is CO2 emissions, and which is emitted by the factories, by us, who we put out CO2. So they are trying to say we have to limit our carbon footprint by not expelling the CO2 gases. So that is the environmentalist. Pero ang sinasabi ngayon nila, this is more dangerous, I think, than any past environmental campaign to scare. Kasi ang style nila is like this: let us invent a science that to scare the population into agreeing to our new terms. Ngayon, sino bang hindi natatakot sa COVID? Sinubukan nila with Al Gore, sinubukan nila with Paris climate change, nilabas pa nila sino yung bata? Greta Thunberg. Nilabas pa nila, tapos tinatakot nila yung future natin, delikado dahil sa inyo, dahil masyadong maraming factory, dahil masyadong maraming paggawaan, masyadong marami tayong ini-emit na CO2 sa atmosphere. So we will warm the planet and then we will melt the icebergs, lahat tayo mamamatay. Again, this is a scare story. So ngayon, pero hindi pa rin naniniwala lahat ng bansa. Okay. Lumabas nga na nag-imbento sila ng mga figures. The East Anglia University, nakita nila na nag-imbento sila ng mga datos at ginamit nito pang panakot. Ngayon, itong pandemya, itong COVID, they are saying that COVID is now a result of climate emergency. That the planet is really going into a climate emergency dahil sa humanity, and therefore nagkasakit. And see, we have a pandemic because of this climate emergency. And therefore, since all of you, para i-solve natin, kailangan mag-impose tayo ng mga rules, mga bagong patakaran. Kailangan sumunod tayo sa isang multinational organization, that doesn't answer to any country, that doesn't answer to sovereign nation states. Nasusunod lahat ng gobyerno sa ating bagong patakaran. Kasi kailangan isalba natin yung tao. Also, kung kailangan na isalba natin yung tao to take control, we have to control the financial system. We have to control what you spend on. We have to control what you earn para yung mga funds na yan i-distribute natin sa mga nangangailangan. And by doing that, you will help save the whole humanity. Yan ang tinatawag na propaganda effort. So this video, which was made by the Davos World Economic Forum, again made by all of these and produced by all of these yung mga elite banking and financial elite, with government officials, with we said this is historically, in recent history, we mentioned already their names. But this system is in effect, we'd like to put it out there, that this system in effect is a return to a system of empire where a few countries ruled the world. And it will prevent and make sure that no other nation on the face of the earth will rise again. No other people will be sovereign. So it is a return to that. Ba't natin sinasabi to? Kasi in order to impose a new system, kailangan kontrolin natin yung monetary system ng buong mundo. Hindi kayo pwedeng mga lakal, hindi kayo pwedeng mag-business, hindi kayo pwedeng to do any work, to have employment, if you are not part of this system, this monetary system. And since the 17th century, early 17th century plus, by it is empire
wala.
we go on, no, I would like to play a clip. Kasi yung ibang tao dati pa to sinasabi ni Lyndon LaRouche. But I would like to play a clip where a question from the audience says, ano ba talaga yung British Empire na pinagsasabi mo dati pa? Kasi naguguluhan na kami sa question and answer. So let's play a clip, guys, of the LaRouche answer. Okay.
My name is James. I live in Katy, Texas, which is on the edge of Houston. And this is the first time I've really been learning about the movement with my friend Beverly V here. So I've got a good orientation from today's speakers, including why impeaching Obama would change things. What now I don't get is why you guys call it the British Empire system. And if you can just summarize that without boring everybody else already knows all that.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. The world has generally been under an imperial system. It's called a monetarist system. Now, we are so used to believing in money as being value, which it is not. It is an assigned value, assigned by forces which are called the oligarchical system. And various countries have been, for example, the Roman Empire was the first major multinational imperial system of that type. It collapsed from intrinsic reasons. Then you have the Byzantine Empire came along as the Roman Empire's successor, and that went down the same way. Then you had the system of chivalry, which was a Venetian system. Then you had a new Venetian system later, which became the British Empire. So what you had is a system of money. Money is an artificial authority which is imposed upon people. Now, the alternative to a monetarist system is a credit system. The first credit system, which you would know in the United States, was established in Massachusetts as the Massachusetts Bay Colony, in which the state, before it was crushed by the British, the state of Massachusetts, or the colonies it was called, set up a credit system where the government of Massachusetts would authorize credit in place of money for projects based on the estimate that this project was going to work out. Now, we are now faced with a similar kind of problem. Our monetarist system is bankrupt. Our money system presently is hopelessly bankrupt. Glass-Steagall will eliminate that problem. However, what it will save in terms of banking systems and credit systems will be minimal. Therefore, we need a system which provides credit. We had such a system in the immediate following the victory of the United States in the Revolutionary War. We had the same thing was done under Lincoln, where the greenback system, which was a federal credit system, which is authorized to get us through that mess. We've had the same kind of effort has been done under other presidents. President Franklin Roosevelt, with his introduction of Glass-Steagall, was moving largely in that direction. Today, Glass-Steagall would not be sufficient to save the U.S. economy. It would stop the blood flow right now. But what we need is a credit system. For example, let's take NOAPA. NOAPA once started, and it can be started very soon. 14 million jobs. High-tech jobs largely, with a lot of jobs in there that are not just necessarily high-tech. It will also need a new railway system, new kind of railway system for the United States, and other major projects, water projects, everything. So this will create up to 20 million jobs, and 20 million real jobs in the United States today would be a real turnaround. And with that kind of turnaround creates a byproduct. When you create productive jobs that produce physical wealth, those jobs lead to other jobs, which are byproducts of the major projects. So we need a system of credit under which we don't just pass money out, new credit, but we consider, under private circumstances or government programs, we consider those methods which are likely to succeed and be beneficial. And therefore we allow government credit to fund the people who are going to be employed in these kinds of projects and use the materials. That kind of program now, which was what Roosevelt was aiming at in the 1930s, that kind of program now would be sufficient even under present conditions to start the United States on a genuine recovery program. We don't need to borrow other people's money. That is the money, artificial money owned by banking systems, these kinds of speculative banking systems. What we need is a system of credit which allocates credit for what is needed to be done. And where government coordinates this process to make sure that where the credit is given for a project which is worthy of consideration. And thus, by simply doing that amount in the public sector and related to the public sector, we create enough fall off in additional employment to make the economy function in what we would think is a normal way. It's just that simple. We don't need bailout. We can't get rid of this bailout money. It's fake. It's only a gambling money. We need a currency, which in the form official government-controlled currency, which is shared out with private interests and other interests according to the government's judgment that this is a worthy cause. We have certain major projects, like Nawapa is typical of that. 14 million jobs right up front. And high-tech jobs in terms of the driver. It means, not only that, it means Alaska. Alaska is a great potential for the United States. It's never been realized what its potential is. We're now having a change in the climate. The Arctic region is now opening up. And with high technology, we are going to have people living in these areas and conducting large projects, including mineral projects, which are of great value to the United States. And these are the kinds of things we can do. They always were possible. Now the need for that is crucial. Therefore, what we need is two actions. First of all, Glass-Steagall. Get rid of the garbage. Honest money only. Honest interest only. Go back to our basic system before we changed to this present system, and launch some good projects, which we need. We need badly. Look, for example, look at the harvest. We're going into a period this spring where under the present U.S. government programs, there is going to be a massive food shortage throughout the United States. This food shortage is caused by things like Monsanto and other things, other swindlers who've imposed a way of control of crops, which is clinically insane and murderous. So therefore, we need these kinds of reforms. We need these right now. Come spring, come the next planting time. If we haven't done something about this, we're going to have people dying in the United States. Look what's happening in Texas. Look what's happening in the whole that region on food supply. The cattle business. How are we going to make up for that loss of cattle and feeding our people? How about our crops? So therefore, it comes to the time that we need that. And we have on the books of our nation, we have the system, define the system, which does the job we need done.
Okay, so that's what you saw. You saw Mr. Lyndon LaRouche answering a question. Sabi nung nagka-question, naguguluhan pa rin daw siya bakit sinasabi natin na British Empire. Bakit British Empire pa rin ang kalaban? Ito na nga yung naguguluhan na sila. What do you mean by British Empire? And LaRouche expressly stated, sana na pakinggan nyo mabuti, medyo mahirap. But he stated that an empire is a system. It is a system of, it's a monetarist system which employs usury to keep nations in subjugation. And it is used to take over the world, to control the world, control populations, control nations as best it can. And LaRouche said that's why people like Franklin Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln fought against this kind of system. That's why nations fight against the system, not just personalities kings and queens, etc. You fight a system where your money, your sovereign right, your currency is controlled by an elite cadre or oligarchy, an elite oligarchy you never even meet and see, pero kontrolado ka nila. Empire, this great reset, is essentially a return to a time where it is their sovereign nations are going to be subjugated by empire. Ito yung gusto nilang mangyari. And every time we say yes to any accord, international accord, that prevents us from developing our own economy, from developing the way we think we should develop as a sovereign nation. Anytime we sign something and agree to that our currency be subjected to forces outside our control, we are giving up our sovereignty to the empire. And these guys, this is what they want to do to the world with the Great Reset. Nakahanap sila ng paraan. So yon. Chairman, you want to comment?
Yeah, exactly yung mga sinasabi mo, Itos. Right now, we're actually under an empire. No? And the empire, nakikita na, when you don't have the control of your own currency, no? And somebody else does, somebody who's not elected and somebody outside the country. Ang tawag natin dito kasi itong sinasabi mong empire, how do you control countries? You control countries by controlling their money, no? And so yung sistema ng pananalapi, no? Kung ikaw ang nagmamando, no? Kontrolado mo yung bansang yon. Kasi tuwing uutang sila, yung mga bangkong pinagkakautangan nila sa labas para magkapag-negosyo, kontrolado mo din, di ba? Kasi ikaw ang may control sa pananalapi, no? And this is the way it's being done, and it has been done even before. The thing is, today, as it had happened also in previous eras, no? This system cannot last long. Eventually, it eats itself, no? And when it eats itself, there is a turmoil. There are wars. There are things that happen in the rest of the world, even at the time, no? And when that thing happens, magulo. Tapos papasok na naman ang isang grupo. Sino itong mga grupong to? Itong yung mga money lenders. Ito yung mga meron na magagaling silang magpahiram. Tapos hihiram ka. Pag hiram mo, sasabihin nila ito ang conditionalities. Mag-a-agree ka. Gusto sabihin, little by little, kontrolado ka na nila. Katulad po ngayon, no? Pero nangyayari yan noon. So pag kontrolado ka na nila, yung sistemang yun, lalaki, kikita sila at maraming mamamatay sa gutom. Tapos nawawala ng kakayanan nitong mga bansa para bayaran yung napakalaking utang nila sa iyo dahil piniga mo ng husto, parang pinatay mo din sila. So pagbagsak nun, bagsak din yung sistema mo. At tapos i-reset mo na naman, no? Yun ang nangyayari nung panahon ng mga nung sabi ni Roman Empire, no? Narinig ko yun, tapos pati na rin yung panahon sa the Venetians. Tapos nung bumagsak yun, pumunta naman sa Netherlands, no? At yung mga ang sabi nila yung mga Spain was in control, pero Spain ng mga negosyante ng Spanya, yung mga sigurong Hudyo no, ng Spanya ang may kasama dyan. So, bumagsak na naman yon. Tuwing bumabagsak, nagkakaroon ng parang gera. At umabot na hanggang ngayon. Alam niyo po, for example, yan pong bansang Amerika, no? Ang pera po ng bansang Amerika ay inuutang lang dito sa kanilang central bank. Yung central bank nila is called Federal
Reserve.
Federal Reserve. Yung Federal Reserve po ang pag-aari ng mga bankero. Nag-umpisa yan po doon sa mga panahon pa nila Rothschild, no? Nung mga bago pa ng 1900s or early 1900s. Yan po nag-umpisa dyan. So, tuwing nangangailangan ang gobyerno ng Amerika, humihiram dyan. Palaki ng palaki, hindi na nila mababayaran. So anong nangyari? Bangkarote na ang Amerika dahil hindi na nila kayang bayaran yung utang nila. So nangangailangan ngayon ng Great Reset. No? Kasi, bakit po para sa buong mundo ang Great Reset? Kasi po lahat tayo gumagamit ng pera ng Amerika, yung US dollar, para makapag-trade tayo. So pag dito kinakailangan mag-Great Reset, pati na dala na pati yung buong mundo. So ang pinaplano po nila dito sa Davos, mga 20 different countries that are supposed to be of our economic of the world, economic management of the world, they're planning to have a great reset. But this time, it is not just one area or one region of the world. This is global great reset, no? Which means that for it to function, their idea is for countries to have to surrender their sovereignty to a world central bank, no? Tapos sila ang gagawa ng isang sistema para umandar ang mga ekonomiya ngayon. Dahil since pinabagsak na nila lahat ng ekonomiya ng mundo ngayon, no? Wala nang makakaahon. So mapipilitan tayong utang ng utang, tapos sasabihin nila, napakalaki na ng utang mo, isurrender mo na yung bansa mo kasi yung bansa mo, yung mga assets mo, yung mga lupa at mga negosyo mo dyan sa bansa mo, maski na ipagsama-sama mo lahat yan, hindi mo babayaran yung utang mo. Kanya magiging para kang nariremate, no? So you're forced to surrender your sovereignty. Now, this is that situation that they are planning. And you can see that in order for them to do that, they needed this COVID pandemic. And then all of this thing that we call depopulation. Because for that system to function more efficiently, the population must be substantially decreased. Para bagang sobra-sobra na, parang sobra-sobra yung baka mo sa koral at ganito lang yung ganito lang yung damo mo, kinakailangan katayin mo yung mga baka para tamang-tama lang. Ito ang kanilang mga pinapaandar na sistema ngayon, pero para sa sangkatauhan. So we have to understand that that is the direction. Why will it prosper? Will it prosper or will it not prosper? Well, like I said, we have to surrender our sovereignty. Let us ask ourselves, will countries like Russia, China, India, even Pakistan, surrender their sovereignty? Probably not. And you cannot make them surrender their sovereignty without a war. And that is why war becomes very, very imminent, especially nowadays, when the push towards the Great Reset is going to be very strong. There is a chance that the aggression that America is doing against Russia and China may very well end in a war. And tayo po, siyempre ayaw natin ng ganyan kasi ang bansa natin nasa kalagitnaan ng kanilang panggagera, yung dalawang yan, China and the United States. So that is just a expansion of what Linda LaRouche was saying, Itos.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, tama, this is where we find ourselves in now. I wanted to ask though, okay, so we are in a system of central banking around the world. All countries follow the central banking system. Can you explain or give maybe as simple as you can, Chairman, to our audience, what is the difference? Because I want to put it in a context. Remember po si Alexander Hamilton, the Treasury Secretary of the United States, put up what they call a national bank. And Lincoln established the second national bank. Okay? And what is the difference of national banking and central banking? And I guess those are the two questions. Those are the questions that maybe you can explain to our audience. Because if empire controls us through central banking, this current system, how do we get out of it? That's the next question. Okay.
Well, unang-una, we call it central bank. America calls it Federal Reserve. But the reason we're saying it's because the function is the same. And that the term used for central bank, it was the main bank. The main bank where all banks, all commercial banks we have here are supposed to be borrowing money from them. And then our commercial banks pay it back and they relend the money that is borrowed from the central bank. Now, where does the central bank get the funds to be able to do this? Unang-una, dahil meron tayong mga loans, mga utang, ang utang natin nasa labas. Yung utang natin na palaki ng palaki, sino bang pinagkakautangan natin? Kasi ang nakikita lang natin yung IMF. Pero IMF, ano lang yan, parang ahente lang yan ng mga malalaking bangko na what we call financial oligarchy. Sila po yung maraming malalaki, siguro mga 10 yan, malalaking bangko. Now, doon tayo humihiram, pero idinadaan natin sa isang sistema na ang nagmamanage o nagsisiyasat ang IMF. Pwede naman tayong diretsong makipag-deal, pero palaging alam ng IMF kung ano ito. So ito ang mga utang natin. Bakit ba napakahirap? Well, tandaan nyo, ang gusto nila para makontrol ka, kontrolado yung pera mo. So dati, ang exchange rate natin sa dolyar, nung panahon ng 1970s, 1969, kay Marcos, 4 pesos to $1. Ibig sabihin, kung may utang kang $1, ang kukunin mo 4 na piso para bumili ng $1 para bayaran yon. Pero ang ginawa ng IMF, dahil inutos sa kanila nitong mga financial oligarchs, ipa-devalue, ibaba ang halaga ng ating pera vis-a-vis the dollar. At paano nilang ginagawa yan? Basta wala. Unilateral, iuutos nila, sasabihin nila, sa palagay namin, hindi dapat 4 pesos to 1. Sa palagay namin, dapat 8 pesos to 1 kayo ngayon. Maski na umalboroto ka, at umaalboroto naman si Marcos noon, ang epekto, pag ayaw mo, hindi ka makakapag-export at hindi ka rin makakahiram. Kailangan ka mag-export, kailangan ka magbenta. At tuwing nagbebenta ka, dumadaan lahat yan sa mga bangko. Kaninong bangko? Kanilang bangko, dumadaan yan through letters of credit ang tinatawag yan. You cannot trade directly. You have to pass through the financial system. At yun ang nangyayari. No? At and if you do not want to do that, you cannot trade. No? You're forced now to accede, no? Surrender dito sa kagustuhan nila. Lalong-lalo na noon. Kasi kailangan natin ang langis. Yung langis, wala tayong langis. Pero paano aandar ang ekonomiya mo, ang mga factory mo, kung wala kang oil? Siyempre, nag-i-import tayo ng oil noon. So sabi nila, pag hindi ka nag-devalue, Mr. Marcos, para gawin mong 8 pesos to 1 yan, no? Hindi ka makaka-import ng langis. No? Pipigilin ka. So babagsak ang ekonomiya mo at sa'yo ibibintang at matatanggal ka as president, magagalit ang tao sa'yo. So, ito ang nangyayari noon. So, napipilitan po. Kami noon, I was still a young person then, no? But I still remember that period when there was an oil, gasoline rationing. Dahil nga pinipigil tayo sa langis, pinaration tayo noon. Ilan litro lang ang mabibili mo kada araw. Coupons, using coupons. Dahil we were saving our fuel because they were still negotiating. So ganyan ang nangyari. Pag 8 pesos to 1 ang iyong utang at hindi ka di siyempre, saan mo kukunin yung 8 pesos? Di papatawan mo ng mas mataas na buwis ang tao. No? Kung papatawan mo ng pataas na buwis yung tao, mahihirapan naman yung negosyo mo. Kanya ang nangyayari nun, para makuha mo lang yung pambayad sa utang, kinakailangan nagbebenta ka na rin ng mga ari-arian ng gobyerno. Tapos, pagdating na, tuloy-tuloy yan. Pagdating ni Cory, lalong lumala. Pagdating ni Ramos, lalong lumala. Anong nangyari? Umabot na po tayo sa, dati kay Ramos, umabot na po tayong 60 pesos kada $1. Bakit? Paano nangyari? Kasi yun ang inutos sa atin ng financial oligarchy. Yung may control ng sistema. At hindi lang sa atin po yan, pero sa atin po lalong naramdaman natin dahil hindi tayo papayagan magsarili. We were a country that needed to be controlled because of our strategic importance to the powerful countries. No? Kasi ang ating geography was ideal for a military base. Isa na yon. That's one of the reasons. It's also ideal for control of trade dito po sa China Sea. So they were bent on seeing to it that we will not be able to pay our debt. Kasi habang tumataas hanggang 50, 60 pesos to 1, anong gagawin mo? biro mo, $1 mo, dati kuha mo 4 pesos lang, meron ka ng $1. Ngayon, kailangan 60 pesos. So, anong mangyari? Mag-iimprenta ka, tsaka bebenta ka ng ari-arian ng gobyerno, tsaka papatawan mong mataas na buwis ang taong bayan. And sino naghihirap dito? Ang taong bayan. So you're trying, but since you cannot all the time pay that debt, sigurado sila hindi mo mababayaran. Alam nila yung anong kakayanan mo eh. So ang sasabihin mo, boss, ang mababayad ko lang dito mga 3/4 lang nung kailangan babayaran nung aming amortization. So anong gagawin natin doon sa natitira? Ipatong mo na lang sa principal. So ganyan ang nangyayari sa atin. Patong ng patong sa principal yung ating mga kakailanganin. Lumalaki, lumolobo yung ating utang. Ang habang lumolobo yung ating utang, lumalaki din ang ating tinatawag na debt service. So it is a system that was designed to really put us down into a situation where we cannot ever pay our debt. Okay, yan ang sistema.
Central bank.
Ngayon, yun sa central bank, sila yung ang nagmamanage ng debt. Pero since umuutang ang central bank, ang central bank sa mga international banks, at ang international banks ang napakalaking nagpapahiram sa ating central bank para magamit naman natin. Sino may-ari ngayon ng central bank? Yung nagpapautang sa kanya, di ba? And that is why we say that the central bank is not really owned by the Philippines. And we can see it because it operates independent of our national government. The appointment of the central bank officers and governor is probably done by the president, but he cannot just appoint him without the IMF saying, this is the guy we want you to appoint. No. And the other thing is the tenure, the number of years that person is the central bank governor does not coincide with that of the president. Yung tenure ng presidente. Kaya sigurado, mas mahaba ang tenure ng central bank kisa dito. At never you see a Congress, the Blue Ribbon Committee, or our own lower house investigate the central bank for all of its investments. Oy, central bank, ano bang ginawa nyo sa pera natin? You cannot do that. That is never done. And I am sure if those guys remember, you have not ever seen the chairman of the central bank being investigated for whatever he had done to our money. No. Walang nagyay. Saan mo linagay? Kanin mo ininvest? Saan sa Wall Street pumasok yung ating pera? No, you cannot do that. They are free from that kind of investigation.
I have a question, Chairman.
Yeah.
Does the government keep its money in the central bank?
No, that's why nga. There is what you call the national treasury. We need whatever amount that we need to operate for the next, let's say, 2-3 months is with us. But whatever other amounts we have, central bank must make, you cannot put it under their pillow, but they have to invest it. And they have to invest it in something that is productive. But they have sole discretion where to invest it. Nobody can question them where they invested it. Kanya kung lagay mo sa Wall Street at bumili ka ng bonds at kung ano man at bumagsak yan, walang makaka-question sa kanila kung bakit nila linagay doon. No? Ito ang danger ngayon. And that is the way, not just in the Philippines, that is the way the whole central banking system is controlled by the financial oligarchy. So the financial oligarchy controls the world using the central banking system.
Right.
No. We have to understand that. Now, your question was, what about the national bank? What is the difference? Well, a national bank is a bank that is set up by the national government. You can put it by law, you will put up the national bank, and its role is to print up the money, or what you call the credit generation of credit. Kasi pag nag-imprenta ka ng pera, yung perang yan ang ibig sabihin utang no? Kasi pag nag-imprenta ka ng 10 piso, yung 10 piso na gagamitin ng mga sistema mo, ang nakalagay dyan, utang sa iyo yan ng gobyerno. At pwede mong gamitin pambili ng mga iba-ibang pangangailangan. Pero utang yan, that is a credit. The government issues the credit. Government guarantees that 10 pesos that you have can buy something. And that is what it means by generation of credit. So, a national bank pwedeng atasan by law, by government, by Congress, that for this year, the national bank will imprint up so much currency to be circulated through the commercial banking system. Circulated, how does that happen? Well, the commercial banks will borrow from the national bank, let's say billions of pesos for that year, and at a certain interest, sabihin na natin 1%. And then the commercial banks now, knowing that they owe the national bank money at 1%, they will in turn lend that money to the different businesses to earn interest higher than 1%, so that meron din silang profits. No? That way, yung credit, yung pera na pupunta sa tao tsaka sa mga negosyo. Tapos yung gagamitin nila ito para sa kanilang mga negosyo at kanilang pangangailangan. Pero binabayaran nila yan sa mga bangko, at yung pag nabayaran sila, itong bangko naman babayaran ng national bank. Yun yung tinatawag na creditary system. No? And that worked for the United States, and it will also work now for us. But that one, as you can see, is not controlled by the financial oligarchy.
Right.
Okay. Ang importante lang dyan ay ganito. Kung lahat ng bansa meron silang national bank at ganitong gagawin, what does that mean? That means every government guarantees the value of their currency. So, you know that the 10 peso currency can buy 1 bottle of Coca-Cola, for example. Yun yung guarantee mo na it can buy something worth 10 pesos, right? Ngayon, yung isang bansa, nag-i-imprenta naman siya, sabi niya, itong currency namin can buy 1 kilo of pansit, sabihin natin. Right? Ngayon, napakahirap i-relate yung peso mo dun sa
Thai baht.
Thai baht, di ba? So anong mangyayari diyan? Kailangan meron kang parang standard. Ito nga yung standard na pag-uusapan ng mga iba-ibang bansa At nangyari na to noon, nung Bretton Woods Agreement, pinag-usapan nila kung ano ang standard na gagamitin para hindi, tawag dito, para yung perang inimprenta mo, may halaga doon sa iba. No? For example, pag sinabi mo 10 pesos mo, ano yung standard na gagamitin mo? Yung standard na pinag-agree nila noon sa Bretton Woods ay yung ginto. Sabi, yung ginto, kailangan may ginto din siya, may ginto siya. Okay. Yung ginto na hawak mo, ang sabi, paano yung standard na yan? Ang Amerika noon, kasi sila ang nanalo sa gera, so sila ang medyo may say, sila talagang may say kung anong value ang ilalagay dun sa ginto. Kasi anong gagawin natin? Anong value? So sabi ng Amerika, ang gagamitin natin na value, $31 per ounce yung gold. Okay? So, kung $31 per ounce yung gold, ibig sabihin kung ang Pilipinas may 1 toneladang ginto sa kanyang vaults, sa kanyang bangko, sa National Bank, bilangin mo yung how many ounces is that 1 ton, and therefore, you have an equivalent number of ounces times $31, no? Yun ang total na currencies na pwede mong ipaikot sa ekonomiya mo. Yun ang parang standard na ginagamit. Pero bakit $31? Hindi naman dollars ang pera natin. Yan nga, ang mangyayari dyan, sasabihin mo, mag-uusap kayo, for every $1, gusto ba nyo for every $1, 1 peso? O gusto nyo for every $1, 2 pesos? Bahala ka kung anong gusto mong currency. Pero meron kang fixed exchange rate. Fixed. Hindi gumagalaw yan. No? Bakit? Kasi hindi gumagalaw yung standard. No? Yan ang nangyari. Yan sistemang yan ay napakaganda dahil lahat ng mga bansa pwede silang, kung wala silang gold, may sistemang pinairal noon na pwede kang umutang muna. Ang tinatawag yung
lease, lend lease?
No. Yung rights, any rate, pwede kang umutang muna para gamitin yung utang na yon na parang pagbabasihan ng currency mo. Habang kumikita ka, babayaran mo yung utang mo sa magbabayad. So remember, ang ginamit na standard dyan, yung gold, no?
Gold reserve.
Nakakalimutan ng tao that ang value na ilinagay dyan sa gold ay dollar. So anong nangyari? That means may convertibility feature. Conversion feature. Yung pera, ibig sabihin, kung punta ka sa central bank natin o national bank, kung meron kang $31, punta ka doon, mabibigyan ka ng 1 ounce of gold. Pero kung wala kang $31, let's say 2-1, ang meron ka 62 pesos, pwede ka rin pumunta sa bank at bibigyan ka din ng 1 ounce of gold. No? This is the convertibility feature. This is to make sure that the money in circulation is backed up by something like some metal, like gold ang pinagkaisahan ng mga bansa. For all, naging standard yan para sa lahat. Tapos noon, wala na yung gold, wala naman lahat may gold, anong nangyari? Ang iniipon na lang natin ay US dollar. Yung US dollar, it is as good as gold. No? So kasi bakit natin kasi yun ang ginagamit natin pang trade, pang negosyo. So pag meron kang US dollar, para ka na rin merong ginto. That's why that term was used na it is as good as gold. So you can see now the ano ang maganda dito? Ang palitan ng pera na ay hindi gumagalaw. Kasi ang palitan ng ang pera mo ay base sa isang level of standard. Ito yung gold na nandyan sa vaults mo, ito yung gold. Kung hindi pwedeng magpapalit agad yung exchange. Tapos, kung biglang sabi nila, so anong nangyari? Pag uutang ka, kasi ganyan ng sistema, 2 to 1, 2 pesos to $1. Pag uutang ka naman, Titos, para sa ating mga nakikinig din, when you're going to borrow money from abroad, your exchange rate, let's say from America, will be 2 pesos to $1. Okay? And if you will borrow long term, because you can borrow long term because you know that even after 10 years or 20 years, the exchange rate will still be 2 to 1. Ngayon, binuwag yan, yung sistemang yan na fixed exchange rate, binuwag nila noong 1971. Sinong bumuwag? Ang nagbuwag dyan sa totoo lang, yung mga financial oligarchy. At iprenesyur nila ang mga gobyernong Amerika, tsaka gobyernong Pranses, tsaka England, na withdraw dito sa agreement na ito. They unilaterally withdrew from the Bretton Woods Agreement. At ang sabi nila, wala nang standard. Ano ang pagbabasihan? Ang pagbabasihan natin yung relationship ng Philippines versus the United States. Ang bibilangin natin dyan yung utang ninyo sa Amerika at kung magkano yung ini-export nyo, magkano naman ang ini-import ng Amerika at ganito. Tapos by some magic, we will give IMF to determine what the exchange rate should be at that time. So it becomes very arbitrary. So what happens then? Nawala na yung at nagfo-floating exchange rate na tayo. Hindi na permis sa 2 to 1. Hindi na permis. So it started to float. Nung nangyaring nagflo-float, nagpapalit-palitan ang exchange rate, anong ginawa ng negosyante? Nag-i-invest na lang siya sa pera, imbes na mag-invest siya sa negosyo, sa factories. So, pumasok siya dito, lalaruin na lang niya yung peso tsaka sa dollar. And that was the start of the whole bubble that has been set up now. That's why there is these two systems. It is best that if we are going to correct this system, we have to go back to the system or the same concept of that what we had in the Bretton Woods Agreement. Para mawala ang control ng mga financial oligarchy sa mga iba-ibang bansa.
Yeah. So, just to be clear, para sa mga nanonood natin, first of all, para tayong nag-doctorate class in economics and finance dito in the last 10 minutes lang. Pero ito, just to be clear, so essential bank is not owned and controlled by the Philippines, right?
Yep.
Okay. But a national bank, if we re-establish it, is owned and controlled fully by the government of the Philippines.
Yes, we have to re-establish a national bank if we want a different system. If we're getting out of a different system.
Right, and you mentioned it clearly. Of course, we can discuss the Bretton Woods, and doon na tayo pupunta maybe in the future episodes. Magandang topic po yan kasi medyo masalimuot because it's finance, but maganda po yung konsepto kasi yung central bank, basta alam po natin, yung central bank hindi po kontrolado ng bansa. Hindi po kontrolado ng Pilipinas, yung salapi. Okay? So, sabi nga ni Chairman, just to summarize, hindi po sagot na, or what central bank is not answerable to the Philippine government, correct?
Right now, it is not answerable because it cannot be investigated. Right. Why? Because it is owned. It's not it's not parang officially owned by the Rothschilds and the bank. But pag may malaki kang utang dito sa grupo, sila na ang may control sa'yo, sila na ang may-ari sa'yo.
Right. Yeah.
What is important, I just want to reiterate the importance of this ethos, is that in the system of the Bretton Woods, we developed a monetary system, a system of financial relationships, which does not need for any country to surrender their sovereignty. The system that the globalists, etong Great Reset people, are going to be pushing and insisting that the rest of the world follow, they will even go to war for this, is that we surrender our sovereignty. That is very clear, the difference between the two.
Yeah, but sovereignty, i-clarify rin natin, sovereignty is not just being able to sovereignty is the monetary, the ability to utter credit and to print sovereign currency, right?
Yeah, well, sovereignty that's a manifestation of your sovereignty. You are a sovereign nation, therefore you can issue sovereign credit. You can issue money, you can print up money whose value you guarantee. Okay. Tatandaan natin, nung tinayo yung agreement na yan, it was an agreement of something like 45 sovereign nation states getting together in Bretton Woods. And they had one principle, because all sovereign nations, they said, the aggregation, the Bretton Woods is an aggregation of sovereign nation states, but all having one common objective, and that is for the improvement of the quality of life of every single individual in this planet. Can you imagine? Magkakaisa ang lahat ng bansa, sovereign nation state, pero ang objective nila ay iisa, to improve the quality of life of every single individual in the planet. Kailan ka makakita ng ganyang klaseng pagkakaisa sa ating mundo? Hindi naiisip ng mga tao na dati nangyari yan. At sana makabalik tayo sa ganyang klaseng sistema.
Great. Well, that's a lot to absorb para mga tagapakinig, no? Yan, nawala ako. Am I back?
Yeah. Go. Nawala si Itos?
Yeah, hello? Yeah, yung internet is choppy. Yung ating Wi-Fi medyo... Okay, KDP, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so sana we can have the chat by chat. Okay, let me start reading it again from our chat group. Hi everyone, Virgie Rosales Ariola, gandang gabi. Wilfredo Opiniano, gandang gabi. Po, magtatay, mabuhay po ang KDP. Pasensya na, wala kami sa ating studio. We have technical difficulties. Pinapaayos lang natin. So medyo dito tayo sa Zoom. Okay rin naman. Alfredo Redina present. Total economic control, marked depreciation of living standards, removal of national sovereignty, and radical erosion of individual liberties. That's the end game here. They said so. 1. Military and complex war. Testing industrial complex. Pandemic, big pharma. GMO gate. Industrial complex is hindered Edward Zan's review with rising tide. Okay. Lito on Cathy, good evening. KDP, God bless. Cesar Soberano, good evening to the true Filipino leaders, KDP Maso. Kam Muhar Hakbar, mga classmate, magandang gabi. Elizabeth de los Reyes Gutierrez, gandang gabi po mga sir, mabuhay KDP. Rodvite Periabas, magandang gabi po Katipunan, mabuhay po kayo, malapit na ang May 1. Kumikilos na naman mga salot ng bayan. Unang pakulo itong community pantry ni Ana Patricia noon. Unang pain ng mga terrorists watching you from Subic. Minerva Soto Kakal, good evening, listening from Novaliches, Quezon City. Christopher Cruz, magandang gabi po sa lahat ng Katipon. CJ Lahora, watching from Cainta, Rizal. Shout out po yung mama ko. Na-lockdown po yung mama ko nasa Makati. Good evening sa inyong dalawa. Sana po kunin ni Satana si Duque at Domingo at si Cayetano. Mr. Exit, hello po mga sirs, and the easiest way to the Great Reset is to instill fear among peoples of the world through the virus. Hindi tayo gagamit ng fuel para walang carbon emissions. Hindi tayo gagamit sila lang at takot nila maubusan sila ng fossil fuels. Gaya ni Rockefeller, ang negosyo ay gasolina. Mayet Fuentes, hi po, watching from UAE. Rain Cloud, magandang gabi po Sir Butch and Sir Itos. Roland Salvador, good evening po sa inyo mag-ama. Salamat po sa programa ninyo. Ito ka Butch and ka Itos dahil marami kaming natututunan sa inyo. Ang depopulation at vaccination ang ekonomiya ng bawat bansa bago nila ipatupad ang Great Reset upang sa ganon madali nilang makontrol ang mundo. Miriam Lawyers, good evening Sir Butch and Sir Itos, God bless. William Laguno, gandang gabi po Sir Butch and Itos at sa lahat nandito po. Narito, God bless. Po, talagang lahat may sariling kalayaan. Ang bansa natin, bakit kailangan sundin natin na mali naman ang gusto. Zenia Arcilia, good evening Sir Ito, Sir Butch, watching in Hong Kong. Keep safe po and God bless both of you. Joanne Ondoy, hello Sir Butch and Sir Itos. Laban lang tayo lagi. After the Great Reset, the old Roman Empire will rise and it will lead by an Antichrist who will introduce himself and the world peacemaker. He is the religious leader, as disclosed by Brother Soriano. Skeptic Bear, good evening po mga sirs. Nick Borromeo, Sir Butch, Sir Itos, happy weekend and good evening po sa inyo. Evening. John Saril Onyato, good evening Sir Butch, Sir Itos at inyong lahat. Planado nila ito, Sir Butch, itong COVID pandemic, political agenda nila ito para ma-establish ang kanilang one world government. Marxist people ito, may pakanaan ito. Mark Sibulo, gandang gabi po, Nesara and Gesara. Joe Bederio, magandang gabi po, Sir Butch, Sir Itos. Mabuhay po, watching from Taif, KSA. Angelo Soriano, anarchy at chaos ang gusto nila. Gusto ng mga ulupong ng kabals, tinitignan nila kung hanggang saan pasensya mga tao sa ulupong na gobyerno. Jesusa De Castro, thank you po sa programa nyo. Very educated and aware to all of us. Keep safe. God bless to all, especially to my siblings and their families around the world. Filemon De Vera, good evening po mga sir. Always watching every Sunday. Stay safe and healthy. Ernie Ocampo, magandang gabi Sir Butch, Sir Itos Valdes and Prof. Butch Valdes. Mabuhay pa kayo at ang KDP. Mabuhay. Vistad Emma, totoo ba yan? Share, kakasuhan na si Duque. Sana all kasuhan, pati Domingo. Eto, totoo, dalawang matanda, pabagsakin now 2 days, hindi nakalabas na after back ano-anong makuha ni sa labas punta sila market. Yan, paano ginagago ang WHO bawat bansa? Sa vaccine, ibang bansa, hindi hawak ng WHO. Tahimik sana kumalas ng Pilipinas sa WHO. At eto, DOH, FDA, tapon lahat ng trabahador. Kasabuatan pang loloko ng Pilipino. At sa peaking virus at sa vaccine nakakamatay. Joyce Pachao, sana backed up by gold ulit ang pera natin gaya nung panahon ni Marcos. You want to comment on that? No.
Kung magkakaroon po tayo ng isang sistemang world financial system, kinakailangan po natin pag-usapan sa iba-ibang mga bansa kung ano ang gugustuhin nilang maging standard. No? Pwedeng gold or pwede naman ibang bagay, no? At pwedeng maharap, pero ang importante yung pareho lang ang prinsipyo, no? Tsaka yung sovereign nation states ang importante diyan.
Okay, Mel Elizalde, watching from San Pedro Laguna, mabuhay po kayo. Al Santillan, Infinite Money. Rebecca Bautista, Build Back Better is the slogan. Be ready for economic and humanity collapse. Thor Lightning, good evening po sa ito. Salamat. Marami po tayong lumalaban. Sa plano ng mga mawawala ng lahat ng sasakyan na gumagamit ng fossil fuel. Well, it's in their plans po. That's what they want. Ideally, yun yung gusto nila mangyari sa mundo. Tanggalin lahat ng traditional workers at i-replace ng mga environment-friendly technologies. Sama sa ating pamilya sa pinakad ng kayasin. Po mga babalik sa dati. Ngayon, Antichrist. True Globalist post by Santo Papa Pope Francis. Nick Borromeo. Sir Butch, Itos, happy weekend and good evening. Jose Lavin, good evening, Sir Butch, Itos, watching from Fairview. Malungkot ang topic ng One World Government Slavery. Sagwata ng mga crocodile businessman ng buong mundo. Rich people who lost their moral ascendance. Oligarchs. Lorda Salvador, good evening po all. Watching you, Sir Butch and Son Itos. Hello everyone here at KDP. Watching from Sydney. Antonio Luna, whatever, let's enjoy our life while still breathing and do good things. Tonight, our fellow men, let God do His things if there is any. Alain Palione, present po mga sir, kayo po lahat ng Katipunero watching sa Mesa Manila. Angel Fermin, magandang gabi po Sir Butch, Sir Itos, mga Katipunan. Lolit Reganit, capitalism failed 2,000 billionaire, but many, if you is also inflation. Noong unang panahon na Mayan tribe, ang pera ay buto ng poko. Kaya ako Hello po mga ka-bullseye. Augusto Cesar Navalio, you own nothing but be happy. Hindi kasali mga ulol sa kulto dyan. Tayo lang mamayan. Romel Lalo, Klaus Schwab is a socialist believed to malalim po yung history ng taong yan. And as long as more research, we will get actually yung mga heads ng World Economic Forum during World War II. Luis Gerald, this is the reason why sustainable development is technocracy. When I say technocracy, it's an economic system and not a political system. Suggest na punta po tayo sa technocracy. News and Trends ni Patrick Wood. At doon malalaman ko anong nangyayari sa teknolohiya. Itigil na, tigil na ang pagmimina ng langis ngayon na gusto nila talaga. Tignan natin kung susunod sila. Stormy Savvy, Sir Butch, is this climate change part of the agenda of the cabal, just like COVID, para mabawasan ang population? Do you agree cabal is playing God?
Yes, of course. Yung climate change po, as you can see, they use carbon and so on and so forth, that there should be a decrease in the production of carbon, which is a product or something that has to do with factories and other industries, practically everything. No? But what they don't like to talk about is that nothing will grow here in this world without carbon. No? And when the trees fall, when the leaves fall under a tree, no, those leaves as they wither, no, as they produce carbon, and that is what's fed into the trees again, so that the oxygen starts to be produced. That's the way things are. But these people that have poisoned the minds of many people of goodwill, but their minds have been poisoned by saying that carbon is an evil gas or evil element, no? And that therefore industrialization must be stopped, and countries like us, Philippines, and poorer countries must not be allowed to go industrialization. They cannot stop the big countries anymore, but the us countries, they can still stop. No? And the stupidity of it all is there are people here that are being paid by these big financial institutions that are coursing their funds through environmental groups like the Greenpeace and so on and so forth. The WWF is one of those. And of course, ang kanilang is anti-development. If you don't develop, there will be more poverty. And if there is more poverty, there is more mortality. If there is more mortality, then that is the objective of these climate change people. No? They are anti-human. No? And it's sad, but malakas ang kanilang funding. They have gone. Alam nyo, there are no limits to the evil of Satan himself. No? This pandemic, these people that have these evil intentions of creating the conditions so that millions of people are dying. No? For sure, it is satanic. No? And we have to realize that. And tayo, I don't want this to turn out to be a religious program, but I have to say, no, That is also one of our strongest, if not the strongest weapon against evil. Our belief in our Creator and belief that we are capable of correcting the damage that is being done. And we are unique creatures. We are not animals. We are not any human cattle. No, we are above that because we are unique creatures. We were created in the image and likeness of God. And what does that mean? When you say image and likeness, it is not our facial or physical nature, but it is our spiritual nature. The two natural parts of God is He is all love and He is all knowledge. And it is those qualities that He has given to every single individual that have been created. The ability to love and the ability to discover truth. We must use this for the good of our fellow men all the time. Because if we abuse this and do wrong to our fellow men, where will we be? That means we rejected Him and we will be in hell. I still believe in hell. But this is the important thing. These are the qualities that have been given to us when we say we were created in the image and likeness of God. Every single human being, whether he is rich or whether he is poor, he has this tremendous power, the power to love and the power to discover the truth. And together, if he uses that together, it's all the time for the good of his fellow men.
Okay, I wanted to add also, ang climate change per se, climate has always been changing forever yan. Since the beginning of the earth, climate always changes. Ang ginagawa nila, binibintang nila sa tao yung climate change, yung things that are happening, kasalanan daw ng tao. But climate change per se, nangyayari talaga yan. But they will use this, they will use science to weaponize it, they will turn it against people. Okay, so, okay, good. Good evening po. Jerry Magbag, good evening mga Katipuneros. Pollux Troy, Rothschild, Rockefeller, Nidert, Bilderberg Group, Research Silent Weapons of Quiet War. Dexter Ediong, I think the Great Reset cannot push through because of the resistance of China, Russia, India of this plan, and a lot of credit to President Trump was able to divulge their evil action. I agree. Alan Baligkasan, magandang gabi po sa lahat. Nung walang naniniwala sa conspiracy theory, ngayon ang conspiracy theory is already a reality. NWO agenda is now a reality. Oo nga, I agree with you, Alan. Lumalabas na. Hindi na conspiracy tawag dyan eh. Reality na. Lumantad na silang lahat. Darling Delights, you're right what you're saying. We should all demand that all humans need to be treated fairly. Rich gets richer, poor gets poorer. War is a business and there will be a war within the next 3 years with China. We hope not. Jose Oco IV, lahat ng lumalaban sa mga financial cabal na may hawak ng military financial industrial complex ay bumagsak. Example, Marcos, Gaddafi, Saddam, Chavez, Marudo, etc., etc. That's true. Part of it, but you go back in history also, ito yung mga lumalaban sa, in history, pinapatay. So, tama. Teofilio Rosendo, magandang gabi po, Sir Butch at Sir Itos. Napakaganda ng topic nyo. God bless po. Angel Aliporo, natin, Rockefeller deep sana of humanity. Kailan pa magigising mga tao? God bless us all. Freddy Oredina, debt trap kapag humiram na sa IMF na may kondisyon. Utang palaki gawa ng Angel Family ng mga globalists at G7, G20 para kontrolin ng population, healthcare, properties, ekonomiya. Yan po ang totoo. Kaya may COVID pandemic. Salamat, Imelda Alejo, salamat ay nakikita ko kayo dito sa YouTube. Right? Reggie Maloyon Avenido, good evening Sir Bo, Charitos. Marisa Buya, watching from Hong Kong. Dami ko po naman natututunan. Salamat po, nagkamali si Pidot sa kinuha financial advisor. Dapat kayo yun, Sir Butch. Glenn Buwan, ang dilemma ay everything is traded, currencies and gold as well as other precious metals. Pwede kayang tanggalin sa lahat ng financial transactions ang currency adjustments. Can you enlighten us on what SWIFT is? Capital SWIFT is in relation to our financial trade and investment system. You want to take that? Ang alam ko po is SWIFT is the international code when you transfer money from bank to bank and from country to country. So each bank in the world has a designated SWIFT code. So that's what they use for international transactions. I don't know about the first part of the question. Chairman, you want to tackle that? Or?
I don't. It's hard to be able. All we know is this: that the whole system now is working on as a digital system, and that income and expenses and debts and payment of debts are done now in the digital basis, and eventually transactions, individual transactions will be done also on digital basis with the banks. More and more. So nawawala na yung use of currency, yung tangible, yung coins and paper. Nandiyan na yan sa banks mo. Ang sweldo mo, matatanggap mo sa bangko. Tapos kung meron kang bibilin, matatanggal dun sa savings mo. Ganyan na ang nangyayari. There is a risk to this because there is convenience, of course, in it, but there is also a risk, because that means it's easier to control people and their money. If you control their money, all you have to do is not allow people to withdraw their money because of some reason. You will say everything is by banks. So anything that you want to withdraw has to be through the banks, by digital system. And if your government says all of you will have to take the vaccine, and those that do not take the vaccine will not be able to withdraw their money. So what happens to you? Tayo naman ngayon, we control our currency. We have the money in our hands. Of course, some of it in the banks, but we withdraw and we have it in our hands, and we can survive by doing that. So I just wanted to mention that when it comes to these transactions.
Add ko lang dyan, you need to do economic activity, you need to transact, but it's the system that we need to regulate, needs to have the ability to direct their own countries towards a policy and a direction that they want to be able to do without having to face the banks as consequences. Dapat sila nagdidictate kung saan nila gusto dalhin yung ekonomiya nila para sa taong bayan. That's the system we should fight for.
Okay. Hanggang dyan na lang po tayo. Ito po yung katipon na si Butch Valdes at kasama ng ating co-host na si Itos Valdes na magpapaalam. Kami naman po at Sundan nyo po kami, click nyo po yung like button na nandyan po sa inyo. At para magkita-kita tayo ulit dito sa darating na panahon next Sunday. In the meantime, pagdasal po natin ang ating bansa, pagdasal po natin ang ating mga kapamilya na hindi po dadaan sa sakunang hindi ka nais-nais. Maraming salamat po. Ito po yung Katipunan na si Valdes. We'll see each other on Sunday again.
Inyong napakinggan si Itos Valdes kasama si Cathy Cruz at iba pang katipon na nakilahok sa talakayan.
Ating Katipunan.
Samahang muli si Itos Valdes sa susunod na linggo alas 7 hanggang alas 9 ng gabi sa himpilan ng RMN DZXL 558 kHz AM band at social media accounts ng Partido KDP.